Steve, if you'd lead us in a short prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Lord be with us today as we deliberate the business of the county. Help us, Lord, to keep in mind the best interests of those, Lord, that we serve, and ask you to give us your guidance. Ask all these things, Lord, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, have we had a chance to look at the minutes from June 25th, 2024?
I have a make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion carried. All right, Tony, what do you have for us today?
We'll start off with the Allied weekly health insurance claims. Those are in the amount of $36,447.97. And that is all medical, and there was a stop loss reimbursement of $49.7339, which took the total required funding to $36,447.97.
We like those adjustments when we get them.
Make a motion, we accept weekly health claims.
A second.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we also have Allied monthly health insurance claims, which is all the administrative costs and so forth. And that's in the amount of $68,834.44, $68,834.44.
That's the,
Monthly, yeah.
okay. All right, take a look at that, and then I would accept a motion to approve that claim as presented.
Make a motion to approve the claim.
Second.
Okay, motion carries.
Next, we have the payroll time card approval for the department heads. I believe that was mailed out to you all as well.
Yeah, have you had a chance to look at
Yes, I
that?
did. I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Okay, motion carries.
And next, we have payroll claims. The payroll claims are in the amount of $383,434.16, $383,434.16.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Where's the year going? It's already July. Wow. Fast.
I had also emailed you the monthly clerk report submitted by Shelley Bright. So I would look to have
All
that.
right, you guys had a chance to look at
Yes,
that?
I did, and I'll make a motion, we accept.
Second.
Okay. Motion carries to accept her report into record.
All right, and next we have the animal shelter. I didn't mean to whistle right now. The animal shelter report that I put in front of you just prior to the meeting. I gave a copy to the press as well.
I'll make a motion, we accept the report.
Second.
What are the hours out there? Are there any hours out there at the animal shelter?
Well, there are some posted, and when they were in here physically the last time, they were saying that if they aren't in there, there's a number to call on her cell, that she can get it from her cell. I can't remember the exact hours that she said. Do you, Stan?
I don't remember either. I'd have to look on their.
I know they
Probably on their Facebook.
probably. I know they have some posted somewhere, but she said they're almost always, even if they're not out there, they're in the house or they can get a hold of them somehow, so.
I'm gonna look on our county website here.
You make a motion, Steve.
Yes, I
You
did.
waiting on a second? Or
No,
we
where
done?
he was just, I was just curious about the hours out here. Cause I had called out there one day, what was that, last week, Tony? It was probably
Yeah,
10 in the morning,
Monday or Tuesday.
and she got back with me at 8 o'clock at night, and I was just curious
Yeah.
what the hours were. Just-
Okay, I'm looking on their page. They've got the phone number on there.
This is hours of the Adams County page, is Monday through Friday. 8 to 10 a.m. and then 4 to 6 p.m.
You found that on the Adams County page?
Yes.
Where'd you find that at?
I couldn't find it when
Because I
I,
went to departments, animal shelter, and then on the animal shelter page.
Being honest, I Googled Adams County Animal Shelter and that was the first one. And it took me right to the Adams County page under
That's
under
cheating.
animal shelter. Search terms.
Next thing you know, you'll be using AI. All right.
Trying to get you one of these days.
No.
thank you, Stan. I was just curious.
Okay.
All right, so we had a motion and a second to approve the animal shelter.
Yes.
Report as presented, enter it into record. Okay. Animal control,
Yeah, I also put in front of you the animal control report submitted by Chad Springer.
okay.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, motion carries to accept animal control report into record.
And I believe that's all I have. Yep, that was all I had.
Okay. Nate, do you have anything for us?
Worry about me. No, I don't know. I think she'll tell me.
A couple of different items here for you. On Bridge 27, that was the one that we received federal funds for the construction and inspection. I have issued the request for qualifications, or the RFQ, to NDOT. NDOT has posted it as of Monday. So we are soliciting qualification statements from prospective consultants for the inspection of construction engineering phase of that project. Final qualification statements are due on August 1st to me via email. I'll coordinate with you following that date to review and score the applicants. I think we'll need to identify who will be doing the final scoring on that. I know we haven't talked about that yet, but you let me know what your interests are. I would recommend at least that 3 commissioners would score the qualifications. I'll go through that process for scoring. I haven't done that with you yet, but I believe you were all,
Do you want to do that in this meeting?
we'll end up needing, we'll do that privately.
Okay.
So we'll end up doing that afterwards. And then the scoring is available publicly for anybody that is interested in it, but you are supposed to be doing those independently, scoring those, not collectively scoring those as far as review. So I'll make those available to you after they're reviewed. And then you also have a copy of that RFQ there with the packet of information I gave you, so you can at least see what that is, the information that was posted.
Well, and I don't know if it's like other years, but everybody submitted a packet on how wonderful they were and.
Yes, everybody
Is
is
it pretty much
glowing
the same?
color photos, glossy paper. By doing an email, it actually saves the consultants some money because they can just send me a PDF. They don't have to print and ask me, I want 7 copies of a high gloss finish. It actually is just, give me the document and I can post it to a website for you to access, or I can email them to you. So I'll work out some options as far as how we get that distributed to you all. So
I always thought that was an interesting process, you know, to judge without any respect to pricing at all.
no, that is the requirement of the federal funding, is qualifications based. So you're not allowed to, we can't be asking them, it's like, well, send me your hourly rates, how much are you really gonna charge? You can, from experience, use that information, but you're not allowed to be asking for that information up front. You are the most qualified firm, so you're looking for their workload and comparing their qualifications for that. So work experience history. There is some work history metrics that get added into that, but that's data that I'll receive from the state, because that firm or firms that you're reviewing will have a longer work history from the state. So that does weight into that slightly.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that exciting event.
Absolutely. I'll keep you posted after the first. NDOT quarterly reports, we finished the second quarter with our NDOT projects, so I've drafted the 2 reports to the different consultants to review. Once I have their comments back, I could submit it to the state. I'm pretty confident I could send them as they are, but I want to give my project managers an opportunity to give me any updates that I don't already know. So, and there's only 2 projects. So they're due the 19th. We're well ahead of that schedule at this point. Community Crossings Matching Grant, that's a CCMG project. I just heard it on WOWO, they announced it as well. The call has opened up as of yesterday. I am planning on submitting for Bridge 155. I don't need anything from you today. In fact, we already did the grant application approvals last month with both commissioners and council. So I have all the paperwork that I would need to submit. I'm just double checking some language in the application. My intent is to submit it on Wednesday. This is to use funds that were left unused from our HMA project. So it's not a full 75-25 in this case, because we're just trying to pick up what money. There's a little over $300,000 that we didn't spend. So
I thought that was fairly substantial.
yeah, it's a pretty good amount because we had such good bids on our asphalt project. We just beat out a number of other counties as far as getting asphalt projects out on the books. And so they were eager to get ours first. And then that set the tone for all the other bids later that same week. So it was kind of a happy coincidence when it came to bidding that. So, and it allows us to, hopefully we'll get awarded in October, early November. We'll be notified on that, and then we can put that project out for bid as well. So USI was the design engineer on that 155 project. So, and lastly on my list here is Bridge 44. This is the one on County Road 200 West, just south of 224. Arnold McCourt should have the asphalt plug completed today. I was out there this morning watching them put the first 2 courses of asphalt down. The cleaning of the bridge deck and beams was completed last Friday. Due to the field conditions, we had anticipated doing a pre-compressed foam joint between the mud wall and the bridge deck. It turned out that what I was told was there in the field is not what was in the field. Thankfully, we caught it when the highway guys went out and did some prep work. So we were able to make some design modifications. So there will be a change order on that, from that pre-compressed foam to this asphalt plug. So we essentially just removed the pavement that was there and then put waterproofing membrane and a joint plastic between the bridge beam and the top of the mud wall. The mud wall, instead of coming all the way up to the surface, actually is 10 inches deep. And you can't put that 2-inch joint vertically when the actual joint's 1/2 inch and 10 inches below grade. So we had to make some field changes to the design. So it's
But we still ended up with a good quality right there.
It's going to be more expensive than I wanted it to be, which is unfortunate, but it's still a quality repair. But we ended up getting that work done in 3 days instead of 2, and it's a minor increase into it. eliminating some of the joint, but it just gives me kind of a pause when I'm running with something that I get from the inspection consultant. That's kind of what we have. So I know a little bit more now about what I want to try to investigate in preparation for it, but I'll be happy with it when that one's done. So,
Well, good, and stuff like that, when you have stuff come up that's unexpected, I mean, it's just, you're just gonna have that.
yeah, it is.
You're just gonna have.
Nobody should get bent out of shape about stuff like that because you don't know what's 10 inches underground. And until you start digging and actually doing some of the investigation, it's why it's helpful for me and Brad and Paul to work together on preparation for those projects, using our experiences, putting our heads together to make sure that we can respond quickly. And stuff like that is not a commissioner issue. It's really just kind of dealing with the ups and downs of dealing with the project.
Right.
I mention it because I wanted to bring up just the cooperation between Brad and Paul on what we use, the equipment that we had to do some of the investigation just prior to the contractor getting out there. I just learned some things about how we want to try to approach it. So
Good. Yep. I
good
appreciate
steps,
that.
good progress. So appreciate it, but they should be done and it should be open today. I warned them when I saw them this morning, I said, I'm gonna tell everybody you're gonna be done today, so. They said they would, because they're
So
not
don't
working
make a liar
tomorrow.
out of me.
They're not working tomorrow. They said we better be, so. All right, any questions for me? Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, Brad,
Yes, I have something for you.
did you have
You didn't
anything,
ask.
did you have anything good to say about Nate since he? Oh, oh, he's struggling here.
I think it's a no.
I do, you guys already know I appreciate Nate.
I
do.
Yeah,
We give each other a hard time though, and that's part of the fun.
yeah. You bang on the wall sometimes and.
Well, we keep an eye on him so he doesn't trip and fall coming into the building, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
All right, well, good morning. The first thing I have today is I have one permit, and it's from Indiana Michigan Power on 000 between 850 north and 1000 north. And if you remember, we've already done, I think, 2 other permits for that same section. So Betsy had reached out to them and asked them, why are you applying for another permit? So the way they do their jobs, they split it up into 3 parts. So even though some of this was already included, they have 3 parts, so they got to get 3 permits. So you're basically okaying the same area you've already okayed for them to work in.
And you've looked at it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay,
And they are doing some major work up there. So.
all right, I take a motion to approve that.
So move.
Second. All right, motion carries.
There's still a lot of replacing poles.
Poles, wires, add this, add that. I don't understand all their technical stuff. Why you're signing that, I'll hand these out. It's time for our Stone Road conversion list, which you gentlemen look at. You probably don't have them, that'll be better for your notes.
Stone roads.
Got my head, mine, yours says 3 feet across the fucking line.
So, since we started the process a couple of years ago, last year, you gentlemen had okayed a couple miles of road. So the people that live along these here, different areas, they've got all their paperwork done and they've got everything signed. They've agreed to give a right of way. So, once that's done, then, we've met with Clayton and Mark. Then the next steps to get the right of way done. So anyhow, this year, I am presenting to you on County Road 500 South between 500 and 550 West. That, it's a half-mile stretch. And basically it goes to a curve. So it curves and goes north, so that's why it's only a half-mile stretch there. And we have got all the signatures we need. They've all agreed to give the right-of-way, the additional right-of-way, I should say, because there's already right-of-way there, additional right-of-way. And I was gonna tell you too on these, if you guys, would like to look at them or see them, that's something someday we could always arrange too. So the next one is on County Road 250 South between 200 West and 300 West. And again, that is only a mile of road that runs between those two. And then the last one is 600 East between 350 North and 450 North. But I would like, there's a side note there, as you can see, one of the properties is probably going to sell before the right-of-way paperwork can be finished. And if that does sell and the person that buys it doesn't agree to it, it's going to stop the project. So
So there's a sale in progress on that property?
real soon, they figure within a couple months it'll be finalized.
Well, so is that, I mean, effectively, are you gonna wait until the property sells to start the?
Well, yeah, because by the time we get the right-of-way paperwork done and all that, it's gonna be a year-long process to get everything done anyhow.
So effectively, you're taking this off the list right now?
We figured we would get it okayed now, and that way if the gentleman would change his mind, it's just one that we'd have to redo. So, and as you can see, two of those roads, the 250 South and 600 East, right now they're only 16-foot wide roads. So it'd be a huge improvement to go to 20, do the drainage. The 600 East, if that would happen to go, it does hold water in places, so drainage improvements would be great there.
So have you already done the appraisals and everything on these easements?
No, these here are just where it's an additional 10-foot, and we ask him to agree to just give it to us so we can do our work correctly, to have the stone converted, or to have the stone road converted to chip and seal.
Gotcha.
Yes, people have actually been pretty good about that, if they think the road has a possibility of being done, they're really good about giving up that 10-foot.
So once again, the process, if someone wants their roads improved,
Yep.
if all of the
Landowners.
deeded property owners
Yep.
on that road agree to the proposed easements,
Yep,
then they can present that to you and that will put them on the road improvement schedule.
yes, and then we bring it to you in
And then
July,
you
and you
bring
guys
it in.
okay it. Once it's okay, they are on the list.
They are on the
Yeah.
list. So landowners who, because I've had several people ask me about getting their road improved, and that's what I've told them. I said, if you want to get on the list, everybody on that road has to agree to the easements.
Yep.
So, okay, to get on the list.
Do these roads all tie into chip and seal, or do they
Yes.
go back into?
Yeah, that's another one of our stipulations is, they have to at least start at a chip and seal road. So it'll be from a chip and seal onto it.
So we're not chip and sealing up
A
the
spot in
interior
between.
portion of a stone
Right,
road.
That's what I was curious.
100%.
Good point. From a funding standpoint, if we would approve all three of these and they would all three go through, is there enough money to get the work done?
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion to approve all three of these proposed road conversions.
Second it.
So will that motion have the caveat of the guy if he doesn't give?
No,
Okay,
if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it does happen, then you won't be able to get the right of way.
yeah.
So if you can't get the right of way, then
Okay.
you can't proceed.
All right, motion carries.
And just as a reminder too, a lot of people think once this happens, it's like, oh, you're gonna get out there and start. No,
2-year process.
it's probably a 2-year process. By the time we get right of ways, we gotta get utilities moved, and then we can start.
Okay.
And just kind of a heads up, an update, the 400 South you guys approved last year, all the landowners have agreed, and Clayton and Mark are working on the right of ways for that, and as soon as we get those right of ways, we can get started. So.
Okay. All right.
All right, so another update. We all know the State Road 218 bridge is open.
Yes.
So met with Mark and Clayton, and the no-through truck ordinance that we had done for the detours, Clayton was gonna be working on. Just as a, updates, whenever that ordinance is ready to be redone, he'll bring it to you, but I'm happy, traffic's back off the side roads, which is great.
And I'll have that ordinance next week.
And that's, no hurry, I just want to give you an update on it, but, and then just another update, we had discussed the mowing tractors, and we are planning on opening bids on July 23rd. That's why I was making sure there was going to be somebody here. And then one other thing, we had a citizen call in and they were wondering on 900 North between 000 and 100 East, they were wondering about the speed limit in there. It's already a 45 mile per hour. And I did some investigating and they'd actually, NERC had done a speed study through there a couple of years ago. And if you remember the 85th percentile, then you can go within 5 miles per hour of that. Well, it's actually, the study was 50 miles per hour, so the 45 is right where it should be, just in case you guys would hear anything.
Good.
So yeah, it's actually right where it should be.
Good deal.
So, and that is it.
Good. Good work. All right, anything else for Brad? Good,
All right, thanks, guys.
thank you for coming up. All right, Rick, did you have anything for us?
Just give you some updates here.
We're only accepting good news today, so.
I think it is.
Okay.
But don't hold your breath.
I was here at the last meeting, but I mentioned the meeting before, the bulletproof door is installed at child support. So that's in. During that hot spell, we got a heat pump over there that we had to put Freon in it. There's like 3 banks, there's 2 per, they're old.
Is that at the courthouse?
Yeah, so we gotta get the leak found. It's holding for now. We found them in the other units. It's just a matter, we're gonna have to get up in that attic and try to find them. But I did put in a 3 to 5 year plan of maybe replacing them.
You would think so, 18 years old, and when they start springing Freon leaks,
I
we're
know.
probably gonna be chasing those till we replace them.
Yeah, so anyway.
When we replace them, do we replace them all at once, or do we just kind of, as we
Well, I
put them
think-
on a schedule? Or, but if you're doing a 3 to 5 year plan, that's something you'll probably make recommendations on.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a big enough project. We're gonna have to get some quotes on that too. So we'll see. We'll see what they say. I mean, the 2 AC units you approved, so they're installed.
Wow, that was quick.
The other one is removed. The condenser on the roof, I'm gonna get it removed here maybe tomorrow. Possibly starting it over there in the courthouse then.
So they had to set a crane to do that though, right? Or not?
And
So is that crane still set up? I didn't,
no, this was last Friday. We put the 2 new ones up, but I couldn't take the old one off until they got that. Because they had to keep running.
because you said they still have to take it,
The old condenser off the roof.
they're not gonna have to reset the crane then.
They'll have to bring one in unless his guys can get it down that hatch, which I don't know. But we gotta get it off.
Yeah. Because that was part of the efficiency of replacing both of them was while we had the crane there, so.
I talked to Chad about that, so whatever dealing he made with his crane, I told him where our number needed to be,
Yeah.
so. Then over there, that unit will be on the
Good.
ground.
Is it reusable?
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay.
use that system.
I was gonna say if it wasn't, we'd leave it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
I I mentioned this to you real briefly, I believe last Friday, gentlemen, but the generator for this building's offline. The transfer switch hopefully is coming off Friday, this Friday, the 5th. So,
By saying offline, you mean it's been produced, it's been
Yeah.
built.
yeah. So the generator is just sitting there waiting for transportation.
Right.
Hopefully that'll be the same way with the transfer switch after Friday.
Good.
We have, Shamball got awarded the contract for that, so have contacted them, emailed them, told them that it was off. And I believe they went and hired another contractor in Hawaii.
Subs it out.
Trying to get it coordinated.
Because Service Electric is done with all the stuff they're gonna do.
Yeah. There might be just very minimum that they gotta do, but yeah, they're done. Pretty much. Just a lot of ones that see things around the buildings. At some point in time, I would, maybe not in this format, but I'm gonna sit with you guys about the shredding that's going on around the buildings. How we wanna go forward, who's gonna pay for that stuff. In the past, I just kind of offered it just to help various things and taken it out of my budget. I don't know if these various departments that need shredding done, they'll have money to do it, or you want me to continue taking it out of my budget. They're kind of coordinated themselves anymore, but
Has the amount that you put in your budget been adequate to do everybody's shredding?
it has. And the reason I think it has is because we've been on top of it, and it's really getting down to a minimum.
Well, if you're coordinating it anyway, and if council is okay with taking it all out of your budget, I'd say if you can continue to do that when you present your budget, if they don't have any problem with it.
Okay. I was coordinating it, but now they've taken upon themselves to do it themselves, so I don't really know when they're doing it. In some sense, that's something that I could,
And it's all with the same company?
actually, the company that we use sold out, so they're under a different name now. So, there was some shredding that went on last week, so I gotta get with that department and find out.
Rick, what I would suggest is you take control of that and you set up the shredding and let everybody know when the shredding is going to happen. And if they want it to come out of your budget, you need to take control of that. If they're going to set it up separately and they're going to call the shredder and they're going to shred just for their little department, that needs to come out of their budget. But if we're going to set up a kind of a building-wide shredding strategy, then I'm fine with it coming out of your budget. But you need to wrestle control of that back from the department heads so that we aren't having the shredder show up on Tuesday to shred for one department and on Thursday to shred for another department, and on Friday to shred for another department. We can't afford to do that. So let's wrestle control of that back and say, here's when we're going to shred for this building and I'll pay for it. Other than that, you better be prepared to pay for your own.
I think I need a meeting. That's kind of what I wanted to hear.
I mean, unless somebody comes.
100%.
Yeah, I do too, but if somebody comes to you and say, I've got 50,000 files I need to shred, and once I get them shred, we can reorganize, then, it's different than if somebody says, hey, I got 2 file cabinets I want to shred or whatever. But yeah, as long as I'm with Steve, as long as they coordinate with you to be as efficient as possible.
So I will regain control of that.
You could have them show up, pick a number once a month, once a quarter, and that be the shredding day, and everybody have your stuff down here, and
It's kind of always been, and they know it. I mean, a lot of departments, it's always kind of been in tune. I believe last year we prolonged it because State Board of Council's in here, and it only made more sense to hold off on it so that the auditor's office may have some to shred. So that's what we did.
Well, that might be the thing too on your part, to do it more often.
And we can.
Yeah.
It was just collected. We used the room here. I knew to stay away and knew where the meetings were. But Very good. Thank you. It's-
Hey, that's right.
At one time, you were working on along with the sheriff for security assessments at the courthouse. Any progress on anything?
The one thing, I mean, is the panic button thing. I mean, not heard anything, kind of sheriff did take control of that. And Sandy was seeing about what a grant was gonna be for that. But I've not heard anything. If she's gonna be able to get any money for that grant and whatever the system was gonna cost, then we could come back into council and ask.
Well, I'm almost wondering if it's more urgent than that.
Well,
Shannon, you were involved along with the safety committee as far as the security assessments for the courthouse. Do we need to kind of push that a little bit, do you think?
I was just involved in the context that essentially those individuals had a platform about it during the safety committee.
Sure.
I
But
wasn't-
I think during one of those meetings, we asked the sheriff to take the lead on that, along with Rick. So I don't know if we can kind of push that a little bit because we've got multiple,
I'll talk to Dan.
between the panic buttons, egress issues, other things that,
Because I really think that's really what it was, is basically that panic system. And then just about every office over there wanted a camera display, which I think they're pretty much getting that. Just to see the entry ways. There's several offices that have that, the bulletproof door just went in one office.
yeah. But I mean, that's been months ago that we talked about that. I guess, it'd be nice at least to have some kind of an update on that. So if you would get together with him and kind of see if you could bring us an update on what we need to do there. So I would appreciate that. Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Oh, also, while you're here, I guess, and Brenda's here too, we did go through Golden Meadows the other day, and so we had a chance to look at the building and stuff, so I don't know if there's any coordination there on your part as far as, she's got the building secured pretty well and trying to work on liquidating properties in there and stuff, so I don't know if there's anything, Brenda, anything that Rick can help you with out there as far as boilers, air conditioners, water systems, whatever.
Possibly, with the turning the gas off for the stove and like the coolers, walk-in coolers, freezers, but, I think that would probably be the two main things I have in there.
So just basically turn the gas off to certain components. We don't want to turn the gas off to the building.
Yeah, cause like for the cook stove, the gas valve is right next to the
Yeah.
cook stove and I tried to turn it and it's like frozen. It probably hasn't been turned off for 100 years now, it's frozen, but.
And then, talk about like the fire alarm system, and there is one out there, I believe.
Well, and it was just recently updated within the
Yeah.
last several years.
I think we can piggyback onto that too. I was talking to Gene Blakey, like the doors. If someone would come through the door, there could be a alarm that would go off with that too. I don't know what you guys want to do and how extensive, or if you want, they can probably be piggybacked on cameras out there if you'd like to on the outside.
I don't know if we need to do that. I mean, that's where I say if you could get with Brenda, because Brenda's pretty much on top of that building and she was pretty thorough as far as her knowledge of that building, getting it secured, stuff like that, but maybe just.
I think part of the alarm system you're talking about, when I spoke with IT last week, that used to be, on the rules and such, and there's an issue with that.
But yeah, Rick, if you want to continue you know, and then we'll continue hearing some. All right, thank you. All right, Ed, do you have anything for us?
Just a couple updates. Had a good week in the treasurer's office. Last week I reported on the courtesy letters we sent out, and we've had another 75 people pay since last week, and we're down to 568 that are delinquent at this point. I expect a big bunch of those will get paid here within the next month or so.
Probably in a large part on account of the courtesy.
Yes. And again, we're not mandated to do that by the state or anything, but it's a system that really, really works. We pay a little bit of postage, but we get that money back quickly. And there are a lot of people that just forget.
Yeah.
They just forget for one reason or another. And this helps remind them. So it's called courtesy letters. Collection, we are up to 98.59%, which is excellent for this time of the year. We have 280,500 still out for the spring collection. For our tax sale, we have 120,000 of that, and we'll get a big bunch of that when we have our tax sale October 31st. But there is still another 100 and some thousand that we will be getting that are more than just the 6 months delinquent at this point. Certificate sales stuff, but that won't be until the first of the year, and then it all recycles around. But we're in real good shape. Everybody's busy up there. I do want to report on interest.
You know, while you're talking about properties in the tax sale, there were a couple of properties that the county either abandoned or sold or whatever. Like, wasn't there one on High Street?
Yes, those get adjusted, and the good thing about that, when it's out of our possession, the county's possession, those go back on the tax roll and somebody will pay.
And the one out behind Johnson's Auto Sales in there.
Right.
Between him and Reinhardt Sales. I don't know if there's another one. I know we abandoned that one cemetery.
It takes a while for that to go through the assessor's office and then the auditor's office, and then it comes to us for payment.
Are there any other properties that the county has that we need to deal with?
You'll end up doing something with Golden Meadows,
Sure,
what's
yeah.
remaining here shortly.
Yeah.
There are quite a few properties, the abandoned railroad sites that nobody's been paying on for a long time, that there's a farmer here and a farmer here, and the railroad went through there. Well, nobody can get to it, so the farmer just parks his tractor on there and he don't worry about paying because nobody can get to it anyway. Mark Burry and we've been working together on trying to get a lot of those cleaned up. There's also some highway right-of-ways that the state of Indiana normally picks up when they can. Those end up coming off the tax rolls then when the state of Indiana owns them. There's still a few of those out.
I just didn't know if there was anything that we specifically had.
No, but there's one property down by Geneva across from the Red Bridge that is the gentleman died several years ago, and there's been some interest in people buying it, but it has to go through probate and all that stuff. Well, now the state of Indiana has stepped in. It's 14 acres or so, but they're making it a protected woodland that adjoins with other protected woodland there. And that's a good cause. But once again, that will come off of what's due and payable to the county in taxes, and the state will pay taxes on that.
Okay.
But it's the right use for that.
Yeah.
It's the right use.
Well, I certainly appreciate you looking into that.
Yeah, and then the other thing I have is our Trust Indiana accounts. Doug has been doing really, really well for us. We are just over a year with the original auction money of Golden Meadows of $1,792,013. That has earned interest since the inception. We're up to now, $1,895,308. We're making $138 a day in interest on that property. And it just keeps rolling and rolling, and it keeps gaining because we have that interest money just rolling back in. Eventually, you gentlemen will use that money for something down the road, a major project or so, and that's what it's there for. I also have another $1 million in there that I put in just as diversity for my savings of the different accounts. But we're making a real good interest of 5.3287, so 5.3%, real good interest there. And it's been working really well. It's a good thing you guys.
Well, and I think that reinforces our decision. I think that was the right decision to make at that time, so.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And eventually, you'll do something with the building out there, and there's like, what, 14 acres or so that's left. That will be worth something to somebody, and I would auction it off and let them do it. But that's up to you gentlemen's decision, of course. But just be done with it
All right,
eventually.
thank you.
I will have my monthly report next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
On those railroad properties too, I've got a system now with our office. If a private resident wants to call our office to get it handled with abandoned railroad right of ways, really the only cost to the resident would be obviously paying for a survey to have that abandoned property done, and then just the minimal fee of the preparation for, it's a certain type of affidavit that can just then be recorded with the recorder's office to have that portion of the railroad added to their property in fee simple.
It's pretty easy to do.
It is.
If there's two farmers or two landowners, they could split it in the middle.
Yep.
If this one does not want it, this person could take both halves.
Yep. One can
And then
disclaim or.
Is there an advantage to the landowner to go through that process?
I would say that the main advantage is you're adding more acreage to your property for one.
Asset.
I mean, that's.
You're adding asset to your property.
Yeah,
A lot of
correct.
people,
You're adding.
they don't want to
equitable
spend
asset.
any money on the property to take away old gravel or old railroad ties or to make it flat. They don't want to do that unless they own it. But it would be to our advantage, it's their advantage to do that.
And a lot of times now, if you go through a lot of them, the ones that I've looked at or some that I've already done for certain citizens of Adams County, the ties are already gone.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing that's there is to maybe move gravel.
Make it flat. Yeah. But then we get it back on the tax rolls too. And that's kind of some of the stuff I looked at.
Yeah.
Thank you for the deal.
Mark emailed me what we did till around 11.
Okay.
So if you want to go ahead and bring Ian up, that's fine.
Yeah, I think I will.
He didn't know if he needed to send Megan down.
Well-
If he moved it around, 11 will probably be fine. So.
And I don't know if there's any of those old battery boxes and stuff that the railroad used to have buried next to the tracks and all that. There's no liability on property owners that way.
There shouldn't be. And again, the railroads, when they kind of liquidated, most of that stuff was ripped up and they took every penny they could with them. So now the property just sits there.
Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully we'll get some interest there in that. Ian, do you have everybody ready that you'd like to present?
I think so.
Okay. All right. We've got, we had a meeting of the opioid steering committee last week and very well attended and I think very productive meeting. So I appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
I'll go back there.
Okay, so as Stan said, we met at the Sheriff's Department in the training center and it was very well attended. We discussed about a number of things that I feel like this steering committee or this money could be used towards. I just want to kind of bring you up to speed. In the opioid settlement fund currently,
in the restricted account, there's $202,594.46. Again, that's $202,594.46. And in the unrestricted fund, there's $110,938.86. So 110,938.86 for a total available in the overall fund at this point in time is $313,533.32. And again, that's from money that we received up back in 2022 that didn't get dispersed. And then this year's installment of $36,816.14. So that's what's currently in the county's fund right now. After meeting and discussing the options, as you can see there on the paper, the recommendations of the steering committee were for the county to allocate up to $125,000 to fund the county's portion of the IRACS program for year one, and Judge Conrad will speak about that here in just a second. And then up to $36,816.14, which is the 2024 installment, to be used for evidence-based prevention programs in schools, recovery housing and programming, and or access to mental health or substance use disorder treatment for adults and youth in Adams County. And those would be the three categories that organizations could apply through the grant for funding requests, as we did last year with the money that we dispersed last year. So Judge Conrad, do you want to take over and talk about what IRACS is?
So number one, right about IRACS, integrated reentry and corrections support. And so the IRACS program is in the state of Indiana is basically what you had is an individual who had some experience with incarceration in his life, about 10 years, in his 20s, developed a program to connect with individuals that are currently incarcerated to get them set up with all sorts of support services and services that are already offered in the community to start getting them set up while they're incarcerated. And it's that program has he's extended it to about 10 different counties across the state. And he was recently presenting this in a national convention that I attended in California with regards to problem solving ways to combat recidivism and whatnot, or to increase recidivism. And they've had a lot of success doing that. So his program, he's already, the state of Indiana has already earmarked about $500,000 for Adams County to implement an IRACS program in our jail. Sheriff Mayors is a big supporter of an IRACS program in our jail. So that program in itself funds individuals to go in to fund kind of peer support of inmates while they're incarcerated, so that when they get out, they have employment lined up, they have housing, therapy, counseling, all that stuff lined up. And a lot of time, the way I've looked at this, and I know the Sheriff and I have discussed it, is a lot of times of individuals, we can have these resources, but unless that they're plugged in, if they don't have the support system of a family or friends that want to assist them transition outside of the jail, unfortunately, we see a lot of recidivism as a result of that, just not being plugged in. So that program is one step in our kind of JRACS collective countywide attempt to address mental health and recidivism of our inmates. So anyway, that's generally the program. That would be in coordination with our Adams County Recovery, already our program that Rob Parker has been helping with. He'd be instrumental in getting those peer coaches into the jail to assist individuals. But the county, that program is limited to the extent that it only is while an individual is in jail up till 30 years after they're released. 30 days. Anyway, so what happens after the 30-day mark, right? Are they connected? And also, where do people physically go after the fact? And so that $125,000 would be to support those peer services after the 30-day mark, as well as to to establish some sort of location, office or whatnot, where individuals could go after they're released to get that, to keep that momentum going. And that's right upon us. When we did a systemic planning model countywide, it's been last year, IOCS, Indiana Office of Court Services came down and helped us. We identified one of our hurdles and kind of our deficits in the county is a jail navigator, which essentially would do a lot of the same sort of work that IRACs would do in facilitating the release of the individual so that when they get out, where they go, what kind of resources they're connected to. And so that this money would, when establishing that sort of program or that navigator position, assisting individuals going out, that was one of our big deficits. This program assists with that, but also having the physical space for them to go to be connected. It's similar to the Decatur mayor invited another mayor from down south in Indiana to present last year to, I believe it was the Chamber of Commerce. And they have a recovery, I think it's Recovery Hub, that's what they call it, where it's just a location for people to go to be able to get connected with those resources and to kind of game plan their life outside of jail. And so we are envisioning, JREX is envisioning that money to, seed money to fund that sort of.
I like to think of it as maybe like a discharge planner from a nursing home facility when someone is transitioning from a rehab to home, making sure that, everything is in place for them to have a safe return home. I like to think of this position in the jail as something similar to that. They spoke about even having the ability to make sure that when someone is being released, that they have their birth certificate, their social security card, identification, that this person will have the ability to get those documents. A lot of times people are arrested, they don't have those things in their possessions. By the time they're released from jail, all those things have disappeared, whether they're whoever they were living with got rid of them, et cetera, et cetera. And so it makes that transition to the community even harder when they don't even have identification for themselves or any way of getting that. So I thought that was a neat aspect that this position or this person in the jail would have the ability to do, in addition to plugging them into all the different resources that are available in our community.
I thought it was a real interesting concept. It took me a while to wrap my head around it. But, this, like the judge said, this fellow,
Whitaker.
Yeah, Jamie Whitaker. Yeah. He kind of initiated this program and the state got on board with it. And so they're providing a lot of funding because initially there was only 7 counties that were approved for this program and as a trial. And then now he said all the other counties that have seen it, there's like 42 counties that are like, me next, me next, me next. And so he looked at Adams County and he looked at, we've got a real strong JRAC program. We've got enough space in the jail to handle it. We've got support from the sheriff. I know there are several things that he said kind of put us up to the top of the list.
Right.
But, so, and maybe, I don't know, maybe one of them was the willingness to use that opioid money. Because there's counselors that are in jail and there's counselors once you get out. But it's kind of neat because they start counseling these guys within 30 days of them getting in jail as far as what they're going to do when they get out. So it's kind of like it's setting them up for success from the time they get in. So
Part of it is we can all kind of speculate and argue why people commit crime, what causes that, whether it's the degradation of a family unit, whether it's fathers involved in individuals' lives, whether it's the mental health. What are all those circumstances that cause an individual to end up in front of me, end up in jail? We can all sit here and speculate. At the end of the day, there's a large amount of people in our jail population that don't have that support on the outside, whoever that is, that pro-social positive support. And so is it the Is it the county's responsibility to provide that, to be a support system? We can argue back and forth. What this program does is provide about $500,000 of seed money to get such a program set up so that we're not having the cycle of recidivism because of the individual who gets out of jail, doesn't have an ID card, doesn't have Social Security, doesn't know how to get it, just doesn't have that person in their life to say, and here it is, and here's an apartment. I'll give you 3 months to get your feet underneath you. I'll set you up because a buddy of mine has a job and we can get you in there. We can get like those sorts of things that I think a lot of people benefit from in our society, in our community, that there's a segment of population that don't have that. Maybe it's because they burnt those bridges, right? And maybe sometimes those individuals are thinking, you all are the problem and I'm against you all. And the difference I think that Whitaker has seen is that when you have an individual that has gone through the system that can relate to them on that level, there's a different mentality and reaction that you have to somebody who's been through, who's gone through the DOC and has survived that experience and then is able to help people that are in the same kind of boat. And as people, we just relate to people that we have a common reaction. I mean, you talk about sales. I mean, what do you first have to do to make a sale, right? You make a connection with somebody. And so I think that this program does that in a different environment. But I think the success that they're seeing is a big result of that ability to connect with people and also to give individuals who, for whatever reason, for whatever the cause is that they've ended up in jail, to give them that opportunity to get their feet underneath them. And that helps us as a community to not be dealing with people coming in and out of jail. I'd be interested, I know Rob's here, Rob Parker, and just his thoughts too on the benefit of having peer coaches inside the jail versus having resources outside the jail. And once you get out, we hope that you get connected to those resources. What is that difference?
So part of it, I think we've all seen, there's no amount of resources and opportunity that is really gonna substantially eliminate or like, it's not gonna pull down recidivism. Like it's relationships, like there are healing powers in relationships. Unless you feel like you're part of a community, those, I know how many guys I've had that have had good jobs that 2 months down the road, maybe they need another good job, where they don't have the support, accountability, relationships. They don't feel half forward being a part of the community. It's for service providers and service recipients. And over time, I think what we all want is to start erasing those lines. We don't want people to stay in service recipient mode. We want them to be able to plug in their passion and experience and their life into the community we all live in. Now we're all better. If you do better, we're all better, right? So part of that is having people in the jail that they can trust. They can lead them into some of those relationships outside of just the opportunities and just the resources, but also having that relational component of like, this is where I belong. Like, this is my hometown, where I'm from. Like that's what we're trying to, I think some of those peers can accomplish some of that work. And if you got guys that come out on the other side like myself and be like, hey, it's possible. You know, sometimes that's what you need. You just need people to see like it is possible.
One of the reasons we're focusing so much on recidivism is if you take an individual who goes through, has multiple misdemeanors, multiple felonies, at some point the decision from the judiciary is send them to the DOC because something's not getting through, and that punishment just ramps up, right? Even when we send them to the DOC, send somebody away for 10 years, what happens? They get out and they come back to our community. They don't go somewhere else. They come back here. And so then you have an individual who has a felony record, who has even more hurdles in front of them to get back to being a pro-social, having pro-social impact on our community. So how do we try to either prevent or provide the person the most opportunity we can to shortcut or stop that process where they just rake up enough large enough criminal history that the only option is to corrections. And I guess that's where I see this as kind of stepping in those individuals before they get to that point. DOC is the only option, and providing them tools and making sure they know the resources that our community does.
Well, one of the things he talked about too is recidivism sometimes it's generational,
Sure.
you know, to where, hey, that's what my dad did, that's what his dad did, and that's what I'm gonna do. You know, and it was neat when he talked about, let's break that cycle. And I thought, bingo, there you go. So I think this program just fits super well. And there was other options presented too that day. I mean, Kim Hyatt was there with North Adams and she talked about, you know, using educational materials and stuff because she gets kids, you know, that start vaping in the second grade. She gets kids that are using drugs in 5th and 6th grade. I mean, it's incredible. So she's wanting to address that. And then, you know, also Baltimore was there as far as with behavioral health, and Jenny was there from Park Center. And so there's options there to help people too that need help with mental health issues. So I think it's a good presentation, you know, with the emphasis on the jail counseling and post jail.
So that first bullet point, the IRACs, it would come out of the amount,
It's what they have in their funds that's unspent.
and then the 36,000, that's what Stan was talking about, the evidence-based, the schools, recovery housing. Those are still additional programs that can be supported through a type of grant, grant requests, but that also would come out of that, the current 2024 installment, and then those annual installment payments from you.
So who's gonna account for this money? How do we account for
So
the,
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Judge, but if the commissioners agree to designate that 125,000 for IRACs, then you'll contact Jamie and let him know that Adams County is buying in.
Right.
And that will move us along in that process of getting the
Programs set up.
IRACs
So is
program
Jamie in charge of the IRAC program?
for the state.
Okay, so who would be in charge of Adams County?
We'll have to work those details out.
Right, so
Yeah.
that would be in consultation with him. I think it would make a lot of sense between the sheriff and Ian, just because they'll have the most time. I mean, Sheriff Mayor's not here today, but he's on vacation. Oh, he's on vacation. He's on board with that, facilitating that process, being part of it. That's
So-
also in coordination with Rob's RCO as well.
And then the other portion, the 36,816, if you agree to allocate that amount for the remaining areas that we've listed there, what would happen then is I have a grant already written and prepared. All I need to do is if an organization will reach out to me and request the grant, I'll email it to them. They'll send that back to me once it's completed. The steering committee will get back together one more time and review those grants and make final recommendation to you as to what we would recommend you fund out of that almost
is
37,000.
that kind of similar to the way we did it with the tobacco money?
Yeah, yep, how we did it last year with Recovery Home and things of that, so.
We still would have to, if we decide to go ahead, we'd still have to run it past council, I think, for the appropriation, all right? Tony? Yeah. So, so I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, there was, I don't know, probably 12 or 15 people there. And I don't know if there's anybody that was not on board with this program.
No, everybody was very supportive. We had there's a good cross segment of the community as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, Baltimore was there, Jenny was there from Park Center, Ann was there from the city. I think Dan and Eric were both there from the sheriff's department.
The jail commander was there for a while.
Is this just a one-year commitment?
This is, yes, it's the first year.
I guess I really like the program. I like the recommendation. So.
Well, I think I've got to follow the advice of
Oh,
our
I do too.
experts. And I certainly don't know any different than what you all believe is the best way to go down this path. I see the need. I've seen it personally for a support system for individuals that are exiting incarceration. It's tough. It's tough for somebody that has connections. I can't imagine what it's like or how it can be successful for somebody that reenters public life with no safety net out there. I can't imagine how that'd be successful. So certainly has my support, and I would make a motion to approve.
Second. I'll third.
So for council, let's talk time frame on that. So if we were to come back prior to the next council meeting with the recommendations for how you should disperse the 37,000, would that give you enough time then to go to council, or would you like to go to council first and then we make the recommendation?
Well, I'd say if we want to make a recommendation to council, do they meet next Tuesday?
Ninth.
The 9th? And see what they say, because we'll be there also. But I don't know if you guys are willing to come back in, to come to
I'll have to check my
council.
schedule. I'll be out of town.
Okay.
I could
No,
come
I'm
in.
kidding.
and be
I'll be
with
here.
it.
But, you know, if we can, you know, make this presentation, to council but I think that's gonna be a big thing, is making sure that, you know, the accounting is what it needs to be.
Sure.
So,
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your help. Appreciate your work. Appreciate your passion for our community.
very good. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
I didn't look, we've got a meeting coming up next Monday.
I think so. I just heard my chairman is not going to be in town, so
Oh.
I'll give you an update.
Alrighty. Sorry. Okay, Mark Wynn, you have anything for us?
Morning.
Good morning.
Not like you have anything else going on.
Kept throwing stuff on my calendar and I'm like, and it's all concrete and footings, things I can't not see later.
Yeah,
If it was framing, I'd move on, but
not a problem. We get it, Mark.
I was. All right, so there was a piece of property that was auctioned off not too long ago. 200 east, just north of 200 north, this piece right here. It's been reworked into 3 lots. Everything comes off of 200 east. This is 1 lot. And then there's a 30-foot easement on the edge of this lot to get you to that.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yep. But right now it's 1, 2, all over 2 acres and all has,
So they gotta
Access.
this dotted line.
on both sides
Yeah,
of the front.
yeah, that's
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That guy right there's got,
Yeah, I was surprised they
Down
didn't
both
just
sides.
make this
Yeah.
the
Common.
easement.
yeah,
Yeah.
just cut in.
Right, but for some reason the egress easement over on this side. That guy. Don't ask me why. I never know the why.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All right.
That's all I got today.
You get this here, Mark. I've backed up off some stuff. What is this? Sand? S&N, okay. S&N Schwartz. Where's it located, Mark? What,
Thank you.
I don't know why that button could have got pushed, or who knows, I don't know. What did you think?
All right. Clayton, did you have anything for us?
I do. So given that, the commissioners in the county would like to move forward with, I guess, liquidating or getting rid of any and all personal property remaining at the Golden Meadows location. You as the commissioners wanted something put in the form of a resolution to kind of get everything down in writing as to what that process will entail. So I'm bringing that proposed resolution, which is Resolution 2024-8. Short title, a resolution by the Board of Commissioners, County of Adams, State of Indiana, establishing procedure for the liquidation of personal property remaining at Golden Meadows. Importantly, I mean, I put in their definitions. Personal property shall mean a type of property that includes any movable object or intangible asset of value that can be owned by a person that is distinct from real estate. Golden Meadows shall mean the property and structures thereon located at 3646 North, 200 East, Decatur, Indiana, 46733. Section 2, liquidation process. All personal property remaining at Golden Meadows shall be liquidated and or dispersed in the following manner and order. First, the personal property shall be offered to all departments within the Adams County Political Subdivision. Second, the personal property shall be offered to other county political subdivisions within the state of Indiana where good cause and need is shown by such other political subdivisions. Third, the personal property shall be offered to nonprofit organizations within the County of Adams, State of Indiana, where good cause and need is shown by such nonprofit organizations. Fourth, the remaining personal property of value shall be provided to an auctioneering service within the County of Adams to be sold. Section 3, recording liquidation. That portion just says, to the best of their ability, the Adams County representatives charged with overseeing the liquidation of the personal property at Golden Meadows shall keep record of all personal property as well as record as to where such personal property is dispersed. This section shall not apply to any personal property deemed de minimis in value as further defined in Section 4. The aforementioned records will be provided to the Office of the Auditor, County of Adams, State of Indiana for capital asset management purposes and to accommodate any future audits. Section 4, de minimis value and or worthless personal property. Personal property that is identified as de minimis in value and or worthless shall be discarded. The determination as to whether a piece of personal property is de minimis in value shall be at the sole discretion of the Board of Commissioners and all representatives of the Board of Commissioners provide such discretion thereto. Effectiveness, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval as required by law.
So when we think about that, Clayton, is it your understanding that the 4 levels of disbursement, the county offices, other public entities within the state of Indiana, not-for-profits, and then ultimately auction, that would be the priority, that we would kind of work down that level once everything's gone that the other offices need, then we would move to level number 2. Once level number 2 is maybe exhausted, we move to level number 3. Is that kind of your vision of how that would work?
And that's why I put in there just in the following manner and order.
Okay.
So, yeah, so you would go in levels. First, once you've identified that all departments within Adams County, there is stuff remaining, but no departments want it or have need for it, you go to second and then third.
I think we have to be careful about exhausted because, when we open it up to other state governmental entities, it's like, well, you didn't check with the people in Madison County if they need it. So we don't intend that to be exhaustive, but so as far as, we're not going to offer it to nonprofits because we haven't checked with every county in the state. I mean,
Shouldn't we, maybe surrounding counties or something like that?
Well, and that's where I think we need to give Brenda some leeway here because up to this point, she's been using very good record keeping and very good common sense on how it's been organized and tracked and offered. So I think we need to give her some leeway, with this as a guideline to where.
Well, I think too, that's why in the second and third tiers related to other political subdivisions and nonprofits, I put in the portion where good cause and need is shown by such other county political subdivision or nonprofit. I think that gives Brenda or any other county representative more leeway in that, when other political subdivisions are exhibiting, hey, I have a need for this, then it can just be assessed and the discretion is there to provide it if we're at that level of disbursement. Yeah, I don't think it's written in any way that it would be exhaustive to where we have to reach out to every other political subdivision in the state of Indiana. Or even when we get down to the third tier, every nonprofit in the county, in Adams County. It's more if there's nonprofits that have identified a need, and I mean, I think those are all written in a way that are discretionary. Similar to, and that's why I wrote it too, because I know Brenda is out there doing a lot of it, keeping good records and going through it all, that when it comes to, identifying whether something's de minimis or worthless, I left that at the sole discretion of the Board of Commissioners and representatives. The Board of Commissioners provides such discretion there too. So my only advice would be today, after signing this, you also make a motion providing the discretion referenced in this resolution to Brenda.
Yeah, so I guess I would accept a motion on this resolution. Are we okay with handling it that way? What's your thoughts? Or is there anything you'd like to see handled differently?
No, I think I'm good with it. I think we can, obviously, there's a lot of discretion there that between us and our representatives. A big concern might be what happens once we're kind of into that third tier, and how do we pick and choose which of those not-for-profits get
Well, and
items.
that's where I don't think you can be completely exhaustive. I mean, at some point, it's like, okay, let's just.
Yeah, we just want to get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
Bottom line is, it's of no further value to us, or we wouldn't
Right.
be to the third tier
Yeah.
of donating things, so.
Correct. I think again, it's just my advice that I think that the good cause and need is should remain in there, because otherwise you could have, you get down to the third tier and you could have an entity that is categorized as a nonprofit. Without that provision, they could just come in and say, I'm a nonprofit, I'm taking everything.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
to have some discretion saying, well, do you really need all of that? Or can you share the wealth a little bit with another nonprofit that might really need X?
And then the next week you see this stuff that they took on Facebook Marketplace.
I mean, that's always a possibility. I would hope not, but maybe.
Time limit on this or not?
I think that would be as determined, with Brenda talking to us.
Okay, I just,
How things are going, I would say.
Obviously, we don't want to drag it out any longer than we have to. But
Because you're gonna be out there for a while with files, going through files. and
Yeah,
stuff.
so I'm projecting the end of July.
End of
That's
July.
when The end of July, and that's kind of my goal, to have the items
dispersed.
cleared out.
Good.
Probably not on
I need to go a little bit less, or I don't know if I can go much less, but if I need to go a little bit more, I have that flexibility, but that's just kind of my goal, to stay on track with.
Your
you
plan.
guys.
Okay, good.
So if we have a motion to approve that resolution,
I make a motion.
No, second it.
okay, I'll third that. And then also, if we would have a motion to give discretion for liquidation to Brenda in consultation with us, I guess. Would that be acceptable? Or how do you want to word that? Do you have a recommendation on that?
I would say you would want to make a motion to provide discretion as to the assessment of whether items are de minimis or worthless in value to Brenda.
Didn't we discuss when we were out there with Mark, something about a $500 value that ought to be brought to the commissioners or something?
I don't know that we need to it's gonna be so hard to determine.
Okay, I was just, I was going by that.
You know, I know there's obviously the larger things, like I don't really know what the value is of, for instance, the dishwasher, but I know something to that effect would be, I'm gonna reach out to you guys and say like,
Yeah.
hey, so-and-so contact me and is interested, and kind of, that's how I would think
Yeah.
we would proceed.
Motion.
I did not. Did you make the motion? No.
Well, and I would hate to attach it, but, if you've got a $10,000 dishwasher, then you might come to us and say, hey, what do you think? But, I mean, if you're giving away 12 staplers, it's not like you have to.
I was thinking that we said something about that.
We talked about it, yeah.
We did, so I'll make the motion that, we let Brenda.
You want to read the motion I wrote down?
Oh, sure, what is it?
On a motion, Steve and Steve, to approve the discretion to Brenda Johns in consultation with the commissioners in deciding if county property is considered worthless and can be disposed of or given away. Does that sound accurate, Clayton?
I'll make a motion of what Tony just said.
Second.
Okay, motion carried. Yeah, anytime you got questions, call one of us and we'll go from there, I guess. But yeah, like back to what we were talking about when Rick was in here, like with the gas valve and stuff, I mean, if you need help with stuff like that, just.
Yeah, and Rick and I had a chance to talk about that, to just, contact him, I actually,
Sit out.
Okay.
get with him and, I think everything, the last couple things I have, I feel like I need to take care of further than the couple air conditioners.
Probably the one big thing out there that may have value and it may not be as much as what I think is that generator.
Probably, yes, that we're probably valuable. I
Yeah,
don't know much about, but just
yeah,
diesel generator, probably most valuable.
yeah. So, all right, very good. Well, thanks again. I know you put a lot of work into the tail end of this project, and you put a lot of work over the last year in priority in the residents and their health and their finding a good place for them. And so, we've said many times before, you've really, taken this to your heart to make sure we do this in the right way. So thank you for that.
Have a bittersweet thing to say, it's been enjoyable, but it has been, the staff out there have been really good to work with,
Yeah,
and the residents, so,
Yeah.
it has been a very good.
Good. Well, yeah, and the residents and the employees, we're effectively a family out there.
Oh, yeah.
So, we tried to take care of them while they were under our care and tried to take good care of them and relocate them, so. All right. Anything else? Okay.
Did you print something over here?
Yeah, it's okay. All right.
I think also with that, so we specifically have it on the minutes. Jay County had recently approached Adams County requesting that, basically asking for the donation of the commercial washer and dryer from Golden Meadows to Jay County. We've been in contact with them, gotten a liability waiver, just a general liability waiver signed. So I would just ask you guys to have a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Shoot, I'm just second thing. Okay, motion carries.
It was just a motion to approve the transfer of the commercial washer and dryer to Jay County.
Eric, I have you and
I'll get it.
Jim a copy there.
That washer dryer thing. That's what I've got.
Just 4 pages or more? Just one each. What are you from that?
Okay.
All right. And they're gonna come and pick them up.
I believe that's the agreement. Is Jay County going to come pick up the washer and dryer? Have they already?
They have not. They actually contacted me yesterday, to try and watch the driver event.
Okay.
For a few other things, and I told them to just wait, so, but they do have a box truck with a lift gate. They're coordinating all that, we're not.
So we don't have to.
Brenda, do we have any of our residents that went down there?
No, I think last I knew, I know they have about 22 to 25 residents.
Okay. All right. Clayton, do you have anything else for us?
No, I do not today.
Okay, Shannon? No? Okay.
Stan, did we need to consider that, what was coming out of the Plan Commission? Had a recommendation to look at, they sent us a proposal for a change to the I can't get back in my computer right now.
Oh, yeah, I think, yeah, what was it? I remember seeing that.
What are we looking for?
Something from the Plan Commission. I don't know if it came from Pat Hess or if it came from.
Floodplain ordinance.
Well, that's something that Mark and Clayton are gonna continue to.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
little
they're
bit.
working on that.
We have a little bit more research and review to do on that one, and then we'll bring that to you next week.
Because I remember up at Maumee River Basin Commission a couple of years ago, one of the surveyors kind of warned everybody, said, when DNR comes out with a new floodplain, don't just take it for granted. You need to look at it and study it. Because like when they did that for Wells County, you know, at one point, you know, they had like the whole town in a floodplain or whatever, but, you know, so, you know, there's.
So the Plan Commission has already approved it though and sent it on for our signature,
Oh,
right?
have they? Okay.
Looks to me like that's,
All right.
so we'll look at that next week.
Yeah, other than, as far as my meetings, other than meeting with the opioid steering committee, I didn't have anything else that I've come across. And, you know, I suppose we got meeting after council next week, but just a reminder that we've canceled our meeting for July 16th. And then you'll be back the week after that, right, on the 23rd?
Yes, I'll be here as
Okay.
well.
And so it'll be you two, because I won't be back yet.
Right.
then, so.
Right.
Okay. Anything else from?
I continue to hear from organizations that are continuing to look at how broadband can be delivered throughout the county, whether it's existing. I know we had a couple of meetings recently where we talk about the need for better broadband coverage in Adams County and how that can be delivered. Still not sure kind of where we go with that or what the options are, but I continue to try to at least educate myself on what the options are. Talking with Mike Brown a little bit and talking with vendors and talking with I know Community Fiber and Watch Communication basically is indicating that they have the county covered, and I don't believe that's the truth. I don't believe that's the case. So I'm not sure how we go about either disputing that or challenging Watch and CFS to deliver better broadband if they indicate that it's there when it's not. No, when we met with we had that conversation with Breaking Point Solutions. I don't know whether were you on that call or you've heard from the presentation from Breaking Point Solutions.
Yeah.
They indicated that Adams County, when you look at Adams County from a broadband perspective, the federal map indicates that Adams County is adequately covered with broadband. The problem is that nobody challenges that. And so Watch Communication, the CFS, seems to be the primary carrier that is indicating that they have service available throughout the county. I personally challenged that at my house, at my residence, found that the coverage that they are claiming on the federal broadband communication map, the coverage that Watch Communication indicates that they have for my house, when I call Watch Communication and ask for that coverage to be delivered to my house, I'm told that it is not available. They indicate that they have fiber-based broadband available, and when I call the office, it is not. They indicate that they have 100 meg point-to-point wireless available for my house. When I call the office, it is not. What they tell me is that they could cover my house with 25 megabit per second point-to-point wireless, which we know in today's environment is pretty worthless. That's next to dial-up broadband.
That's if you had a 200-foot tower on.
Yeah, that's if I had a tower on my house. So I think what I've done, and it wasn't with you all's approval, but what I've done as in my role as commissioner is I've pushed back to Watch Communication, Community Fiber Solutions, and said, I expect you either to deliver the service that you're claiming you deliver or quit claiming you deliver that service to Adams County so we can have other providers step in and bridge that gap between what's available and what's the minimum standard for today's broadband service. I've gone so far as to invite Watch Communication and CFS to come before this group and help us understand how they're going to either improve the service they are claiming to deliver or why I am incorrect in my assumption. I've not got a response back from them yet, but I'm just kind of aggravated and disappointed that we have an incumbent carrier in Adams County that claims to deliver service, thus precluding other carriers from getting funding or getting access to funding that could provide better service when they aren't actually providing the service that they claim that they are. So just so you guys know, I've pushed back to CFS. I've asked our representative to have representatives from their organization come before us and help me in particular, or us collectively, understand what their plan is. Just so you know.
It sounds like it's a complete misrepresentation on their part.
I believe it is. I think Breaking Point told us it was. I've personally gone to the step of challenging for my residents and found that what they say is available is not available. I just have to assume that that's the case in many places throughout Adams County where they claim to cover a significant portion of Adams County with broadband service. I don't believe it's available.
That was one of the interesting things that came out of that Bright Point presentation was how misrepresented that was.
Yeah.
Well, and it's very, I thought the amazing thing was that it really is readily available information too. I mean,
oh yeah,
any resident can go to literally type in FCC broadband map, put in your address, there's a dot to click on your address, and it runs every provider that's claiming to provide to that household. And then if you call that provider, like Steve just mentioned, and they don't, you can right there on that map, click challenge and send the FCC notification that you're challenging that you don't believe that provider is actually providing the
and I
service
have done
they claim.
that. I've completed that challenge process, but it's not an easy process. It's
No.
easy to click on that dot right there and say, I want to challenge this. But then the litany of questions that you have to fill out is pretty long. I completed it. It's not rocket science, but it's not, the challenge process is a little cumbersome, a little onerous. And I can see why residents don't go through it. and complete the challenge. It's just not a very easy process. But it's just frustrating to me that we have an organization, a company that basically claims Adams County as their own and then is not delivering the service that we need. And it just aggravates me, and I would like to hear from the company what they're going to do about it.
On the cumbersomeness aspect, I will say Brightpoint did suggest that there needs to at some point be a countywide initiative, or we don't hear back, or you commissioners, suggest something. They would suggest we do something by the way of either a phone survey or something where, we can provide them with a number to say, do you want the challenge? Because Brightpoint said you just need certain information, and then either a county employee or someone can be the one actually entering the challenges for them. Because I agree. Somewhat cumbersome of a challenge process and questions that a day-to-day person, internet user, has no idea. I mean, most people do not know what their upload download speed of their internet is and probably have no way of really looking how to find it. And that's one of the first questions it asks you. So
I'm fortunate I live in Monroe and I've got Mediacom available to me, but you live outside of one of the city populations. Mediacom's not going to run cable TV to your home. So your options then become very limited. If Watch Communication is not providing the service that they claim they are, then they need to step aside and let somebody else do it that's willing to bring the service that we need. But right now, they're kind of an
that's part of
impediment
the
to
bad
that.
part. With them claiming that coverage, it keeps other providers
Keeps other
away.
providers out. It's just not fair.
That's the bad part.
Yeah, it's just, I think we as commissioners can play a role in forcing or at least expecting Watch to live up to the claims that they're making in that federal publicly available information.
Well, I appreciate you investigating that, because that's been something that's gone on for years as far as the discrepancy and broadband available to, if you're right down the corridor of Highway 27, that's your best opportunity for coverage or within the towns, but
Right.
you get outside of that.
I know there are other entities that are looking at coming and trying to help us out, but that's, when you look at the coverage that Watch Communication claims to provide, then the funding dries up, the funding support dries up for those alternatives to come into Adams County and deliver service. So I think that's, anyway, get off my soapbox, but it's aggravating, and I'm hoping that we can get a representative in here to help us understand what they're doing.
Interesting. Thank you, Steve.
So I've reached out to Doug Biebrick, who I believe is the local representative for Watch Communication, CFS, and asked him to, I don't know that he'll be the representative, but I've asked him to reach out to whoever needs to have them to come to Adams County and help us understand what their plan is.
Well, maybe his phone will ring off the wall. All right. Steve, anything else? All right. Anything from the general public? All right. I accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, meeting adjourned.